After being on the air for over 20 years, the Peppa Pig cartoon never ceases to amaze us with its endless mysteries, hidden behind fun muddy puddles and innocent games played by kids, like the little pink pig and her friends. For instance, have you ever stopped to think about why in the world Peppa's house is sitting on top of such a high hill? Could there be something underneath the house of the most famous little pig in the world that has never been revealed to the fans? The evil twins' hideout. If there's one theory that's practically a confirmed truth about the Peppa Pig cartoon, it's the existence of a hidden sister who was actually spotted in an official wallpaper for the show. After this appearance, this second Peppa hiding in the window of the family's house became known by many as the evil twin, who is always lurking around, waiting to break free or get revenge on the pig family for being completely forgotten by everyone. And if she does exist, she definitely lives somewhere inside Peppa's house, but it has to be a spot that's almost never used by the family members. And that ideal place would be none other than the house's basement, which we've seen in a few episodes and is extremely deep. This indicates that at some point during the construction of the pig's home, a hole had to be dug out to create the basement, which wouldn't be a problem at all since the pig family's house sits right on top of a hill. In other words, underneath Peppa's house, there's just a big mound of dirt, right? Well, maybe it's not quite that simple. We know that some animals in the cartoon, like moles and rabbits, as we saw in the episode where we got to know Rebecca Rabbit's house and Molly Mole's house, can easily build tunnels and even entire homes. And these animals can do this in just a few minutes, which leads us to imagine that animals less adapted for digging, like pigs, could do the same thing. It would just take them a lot more time. So if Peppa Pig's evil twin really does live locked away in isolation at the bottom of a basement dug into the ground at the top of a hill, we can deduce that she had years to dig and build tunnels and even exits leading out of the family's house without anyone noticing. This would definitely be something terrifying, since she, the lost twin, could pop up anywhere and at any time without anyone ever noticing. But in any case, this is absolutely a very strong possibility of something that could exist underneath the pig family's house that most fans haven't even stopped to imagine. However, there are other possibilities just as scary as this one that you need to hear about with us right now. Get ready, because we are going to blow your mind. Dimensional portal. If you're a die-hard Peppa Pig fan, you know there's a theory that the Little Pink Pig's world is the exact same one as the Ben and Holly cartoon, since both shows are made by the same creators. But, sorry to burst your bubble, that is highly unlikely, given that Peppa's world is inhabited mostly by animals, while Ben and Holly's world is inhabited by humans, fairies, and elves. But that doesn't mean there isn't a connection between the two worlds, since we can see characters from the Elf and Fairy cartoon over in Peppa's world, and also the faces of Peppa's characters in Ben and Holly's world, making it clear that there is, in fact, a link between the two realities. So have you ever imagined that there might be a portal connecting the dimensions of both worlds? If this interdimensional portal does exist, the best place for it to be located would definitely be right underneath Peppa Pig's house, which would give direct access straight to Ben and Holly's fairy castle. That way, the homes of the main characters from both cartoons would have a practically constant connection, with Peppa and George being able to visit the elf village, and Fairy Princess Holly and Ben being able to access the world of talking animals that we see in the Peppa episodes. This idea is simply amazing, and seeing this crossover should be something the Peppa Pig animators start thinking about doing immediately. The last humans. As we just mentioned, Peppa's world is mostly inhabited by animals who live just like we humans normally do, going to school, going to work, getting married, and having kids. However, we know that some humans do exist in this reality, like the Queen, the Pirate, and also Santa Claus. However, in one of the episodes, a story is told that in the distant past, there were cavemen and cavewomen in Peppa's world, making it clear that the world the cartoon takes place in was originally inhabited by people like us, and not animals walking on two legs, like Peppa and her friends. So what happened to these humans? And how did the animals take over the planet? This is absolutely a topic that needs a whole video of its own. In fact, if you want to see a video about the humans in Peppa's world, please comment "Had humans" down below. But the truth is, whatever might have happened between that past with the cavemen and the present where we only see 3 humans in all of Peppa's world, the fact is that there are people out there and they are hiding somewhere. And these last surviving humans could perfectly well live in an underground refuge, like, for example, inside the hill right underneath the Little Pink Pig's house. If this is true, these three we mentioned, the Queen, Santa Claus, and the pirate, are the ones allowed to go outside, or in the pirate's case, he might have escaped, which makes sense since he is an outlaw. If you're enjoying the video, subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss any new videos. Hidden vampires. Since we're on the subject of the last of their kind, there's another possibility that makes total sense regarding what could be underneath Peppa Pig's house. Only this time we aren't talking about plain old human beings, but something much worse: vampires. And there are two main reasons that strongly lead us to think about this possibility. The first one is the fact that it's confirmed that vampires do exist in Peppa's world. Not only that, but the vampire we know is none other than the children's teacher in that town. Yes, we're talking about Madame Gazelle, who has no reflection, as we saw in the Halloween episode. And she's also extremely old, as it becomes clear when we find out that she was already elderly when she taught Peppa's parents, who are adults today and already have 3 kids, meaning we can deduce not only that vampires exist in Peppa's town, but we can also understand that everybody knows it. And more than that, the people and the vampires get along great, as we can see in the kids' teacher's case. And that's exactly what backs up the second point about this possibility. The other vampires could very well live in a dark place during the day, so they can come out at night, with Madame Gazelle being the only exception, since she might just have a resistance to sunlight, something the other vampires wouldn't have. And the perfect place for these other vampires to hang out during the day would be none other than a hidden refuge inside the hill of Peppa's house, since the Little Pink Pigs family and Madame Gazelle have a really good relationship. I just hope, for Evie's sake, that they don't go in and out through the pig family's basement. Imagine if one of them gets hungry in the middle of the night, right? Miss Rabbit's secret tunnels. Now let's talk about a possibility that is way scarier than any vampire in Peppa's world. There is a huge chance that there actually is a network of tunnels underneath Peppa's house that no one, not even the pig family, knows about, except for the only person who uses the tunnels, none other than Miss Rabbit. As we talked about in the Evil Twin section, rabbits live in burrows that they build themselves, like in the case of Rebecca Rabbit's family. For this reason, Miss Rabbit, who is the person with the most jobs in the cartoon world, could use a complex network of tunnels connecting her from one job to the next, going right under the hills of the town's houses and schools, speeding up her commute without needing to drive or deal with traffic. This would explain how she manages to be in several different places with such little time in between. And the center of these tunnels would be exactly at Peppa's house, since we know that almost all the episodes start there, and, as we saw in the TV Land episode, it's Miss Rabbit who runs the television studio in the Little Pink Pigs town. In other words, for Miss Rabbit, without a doubt, one of her main goals is to always film as much as she can of the pig family's life without them noticing, and broadcasting it on televisions across the rest of the world like it's a comedy show. But that is also something pretty creepy and concerning, don't you agree? Peppa's grandparents. Taking advantage of the fact that we just talked about one of the most mysterious characters in Peppa's world, let's talk about a couple we know exists in the cartoon, but who have never actually been shown up until now. We're talking about the paternal grandparents of Peppa, George, and Evie. Both Daddy Pig and his brother, Uncle Pig, and Auntie Dottie are siblings. However, their parents have never been seen or even mentioned. And for this, we have a theory. Peppa's dad, his brother, and his sister make 3 pigs, right? So you've probably heard of the fairy tale of the 3 little pigs who end up getting away from the wolf that wanted to eat them after the 2 reckless siblings hide in the brick house of the only wise little pig out of the 3. If we consider that this story is real in Peppa's world, especially after the episode where we see Mr. Wolf trying to blow down the brick house that Peppa's dad built for him with a huff and a puff, just like the wolf from the fairy tale did, we can imagine that the smart little pig from the story would be none other than the Little Pink Pig's very own dad when he was younger. And after saving his 2 younger siblings and becoming a structural engineer responsible for building the houses of practically everyone in Peppa's town, we can imagine that their parents could have been attacked by the wolf, who had his plans foiled by the 3 little pigs. So, in order to protect them and keep them close by at all times, we can imagine that Peppa's dad might have built an underground bunker beneath his own house with all the comfort and technology that his job as an engineer could afford. In other words, Peppa's grandparents, who we've never seen in the cartoon, live right underneath the little pig's house, and they're doing just fine down there. They probably haven't shown up because Miss Rabbit's cameras can only film when the pig family goes out to other places or whatever can be seen through the windows of the house. And there aren't any windows in an underground bunker, are there? Science lab. And finally, the last possibility of what could be underneath the pig family's house would be a secret lab. As we saw in the Science Museum episode, Grampy Rabbit is a great scientist. And like any man of science, he needs a place where he can work on his creations in peace, including the rocket used to send Edmund Elephant into space. And as we know, Grampy Rabbit and Grandpa Pig, who is the other grandfather and Mummy Pig's dad, are great friends. So it wouldn't be weird at all if he used the underground space of the pig family's house to set up his science lab. And as a thank you, he would constantly create muddy puddles around Peppa's house, which, as we can see in the episodes, are never ever missing, even on days when it hasn't rained. I don't know about you, but this theory makes total and complete sense to me.